and WILDCARD. Storyline here is actually kind of large. Direwolves, undefeated so far in the 2022 regular stage, whereas WILDCARD have, boy, do they have so much to prove. I think that 2021, there was so much up and down. We thought that there was hope in there, and we kept getting it crushed. However, I feel like the roster kind of coming together this stage, OJ, Cairo joining them. Guz, is this the mix that we need to see? Is this an opportunity for them to take down the big dogs of Direwolves?
I certainly had my reservations on last week's result for WILDCARD. I thought a 7-5 against Fury, a reflection or a repeat rather of stage 1. I was a bit cautious in saying that WILDCARD are showing signs of improvement, but we've just seen Fury slap the Chiefs, right? So I don't think Fury have regressed at all, and probably a sign that WILDCARD are continuing to improve. The question mark still looms though, have they improved enough to take down the Direwolves, who have clearly been head and shoulders above the rest of the entirety of the APAC South competition in the regular stage? So WILDCARD will need to make big strides forward here today, and if they're on their game, maybe we could see them push it a little bit.
Do you think that they are, Xenox? It's probably just the easiest question. Do you think that they are on their game?
Who's the WILDCARD?
No, yeah, of course WILDCARD. Jeez, if you listen to your co-caster once in a while, you'd know.
I listen to you, I don't listen to Guz, but look, I think for WILDCARD, I agree that obviously they've continued their improvement. Maybe at the start of stage 1, like the first couple of games, they showed some really good signs, and then it kind of started going downhill for the remainder of stage 1, hence obviously their finish towards the end of it. When you look at the core roster though, I think they've got the serious talent there, and it's just all about sticking with it, continuing to improve, and in some ways, I actually look at them as similar to Fury back in stage 1. It was a kind of growth stage, then coming into stage 2, continuing that. And obviously, you've seen Fury and what they've been able to do. WILDCARD as well, you know, finding a win against Fury, lo and behold, in Playday 1. But now that's kind of the next stage for WILDCARD 2, is now really mixing it with these top teams. And honestly, you know, fighting for that top 2 position. Second at the moment, I know only through Playday 1, but I think they've definitely got the capability of taking down a Direwolves. I think they've got the roster for it. They've been together now quite a while, and all of those storylines regarding the old WILDCARD of last year, that's so long ago now. They're making their own statement for this year.
They are. And Guz, just very quickly, can I get an oh? Moving on to the Direwolves. Guzzler, you left me high and dry, and I'm not mad. Me and Harambe will sit out the back and do our own dances. What are your thoughts on this roster?
God, you're cringe. Yeah, Direwolves on an 8-win streak in the regular stage of 2022, completely undefeated, all those wins in regulation, so they're looking very difficult to take down. That said, they are still a stride behind the international competition. We saw that at the Charlotte Major, still a lot of learning and growth for them to do, and we can only hope for their sake that that was achieved while they were overseas, and hopefully they've come back now and are even better, and they'll just be looking to continue this streak. I think WILDCARD are an opponent that they bested quite easily in the first stage. It was a 7-4 victory midway through that stage, and it's very, very tricky to bet against the Direwolves at the moment. We just haven't seen them in a weakened state this year, really. They have continued to improve, and even in matchups where we've been a little bit hesitant or 50-50 to back them in, they've continued to shine through. So no real reason to doubt them heading into this evening's match.
Xenox, Guz is a little bit of a loser, if you know what I mean. Direwolves, however, are not at all. They've been on fine form, and Guz has kind of alluded to a little bit there. They really have not been at a weakened state. Are we expecting at all this stage to see cracks?
Look, I think it'd be very difficult to see them go undefeated once again, and what would that end up being? 14 wins in a row for both regular stages. I also think a lot of that comes down to APAC South being what is always a very difficult region, and difficult to predict. Teams are so close with each other, and I think even what Direwolves were able to do in stage 1 was already quite frankly unbelievable, to be completely honest, especially from where this team has come from. But I guess that's the challenge for them now. It's not so much, you know, being able to continue doing that, but can they maintain it, and for how much longer? And then when, you know, inevitably they do crack, as you say, or lose a game, their ability to make sure that that doesn't snowball, that they don't start snowballing back the other way to where they, you know, were in the past. Great teams, good teams, they do lose every now and then. There's nothing wrong with that. WILDCARD's a team on the up. If Direwolves drop this game, it's not like it's the end of the world, for instance. You can lose, you know, I think we worked it out, maybe 2 games or so and still get top 2.
Yep.
I think Direwolves do win this game, though, for all intents and purposes. Wildcard on the rise, but not quite there just yet. And for Direwolves, if they do want that major, if they do want that top 2, this is a game they need to be winning.
Certainly being said, as quick as you can rise, as quick as you can fall. I don't think that they will be doing so anytime soon. Well, that is a very good point, actually. You could almost make similarities between the two. But let's have a look at the map veto. I'm sure production are getting a little bit frustrated with us now. We're going deep on some of these conversations. They don't mind it. They can, the players, for once, they can wait for us, but wait no longer. We are, oh God.
Wow.
Oh man. This is
Can we get it out of the map pool already?
Yeah, honestly. I mean, guys, we go to bank here, and it really does just seem to be a reoccurring factor.
This is quite the stage for these two to play. I would probably argue that for the two of them, it's their strongest map, if not in their sort of top 2 in the 9-map pool. So there's no excuse for either team. They have shown results on this map in the past. It's Direwolves' most banned map against, though, so quite formidable. And the chances in which they have had to play at 5, in which this year they've been perfect. So yes, it's good for Wildcard, but at the same time very strong for the Direwolves. And I guess we'll see both teams at their very best on this map.
Oh, at their very
That's a good point.
At their very best, Xenox. Do you back that?
I mean, I feel like it's hard to say maybe for Direwolves because they've had some really good very bests in the last couple of months. But hey, yeah, I definitely agree with the sentiment that you've got a map that's gone through because both teams like it. You know, every now and then you're going to have it, that instance, you're going to have it where maybe both teams don't like it and then some sort of middle ground neutral map. So I think this is going to be a really, really close game, as Guz alluded to. Wildcard very much do like Bank. They play it really well. And obviously for Direwolves, what is it, 5-0, they love it. Teams ban it away from them. So I guess this could be a good testing point for Wildcard to really see where they're at against arguably the best in APAC South, going up against them on a map that, yes, they like, but the other team also like maybe just a little bit more. So hopefully we get a little bit more of a clinical game here on Bank than what we had previously for what is also going to be our 4th Bank in a row.
Wow, it is too. Look at this. Fun facts brought to you by Xenox. I mean, we've come to expect that, I guess. But very quickly, guys, I'll give it to you for a quick final prediction.
Quick final prediction. Heading into the day, predicted Direwolves. I don't see the streak ending against Wildcard. The map veto, as previously mentioned, very strong for both teams, but I think Direwolves continue to just have that edge. I think they'll do a pretty clinical job here, and it should be done in regulation.
I don't know. I think Wildcard have got an ace up the sleeves. It's time to throw the Dev and Mandy for the matchup.
Not a bad one from you, mate. Ace up the sleeve, Wildcard. I see what you did there. But hey, Mandy, ready to get into our second game. And it is another bank, unfortunately. But hey, we know what these teams are capable of on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Wildcard recently, they've really shown some pretty strong prowess. In that interview we had with Lycolis, he even mentioned that he turned to Wildcard's strategy, particularly for that top floor, the way that they play Bank, because it is so dynamic and it's so well drilled. So I'm looking to Wildcard to see if they can continue that strength here on Bank.
We even had Milo get an ace last week on this map. But of course, Direwolves are a team that have not lost yet in APAC South all year long. They are 8-0 and looking to continue that streak. And yeah, the word on the street is the general consensus is that they are going to be able to do that. But Wildcard are looking on the up, right? They won the OCS, the Oceanic Championship Series, which is like nationals. And yeah, like they're doing well so far. So is there a real shot in here for Wildcard?
I think there is a real shot here for Wildcard. I think I want to reflect on a point that Xenox actually made, that the Direwolves dynasty can only last for so long. And for Direwolves to continue being good, they have to just keep on improving over and over and over again, and continuing that rate of improvement when there are so many teams following behind you also improving is going to be so hard to do. At one point, it starts to taper off, right? You start to reach a kind of asymptote, I suppose, in the curve, right? Yeah. Where you can't get any better than that, such as this. Right?
Just say asymptote.
Listen, I can think of a better way to describe it.
That is amazing.
My inner engineer can help myself, yeah.
Yeah, look, I will say Direwolves clearly have been making that progress, right? Of course, they were a team that once upon a time was kind of mid-tier. They've certainly established themselves as top tier in APAC and APAC South specifically, but they even got a map win at the Charlotte Major against Team 1 Esports, which might not be the strongest team to beat, but hey, it is a team nonetheless, an overseas team, and of course that being Direwolves' first major appearance, that's a pretty big W in itself.
Absolutely, and I think it just goes to show that the Direwolves are kind of that little step away from all the other teams as well. A lot of the other APAC South teams we saw go to the major, well, one didn't, but the Chiefs, they couldn't walk away with anything, not even a single point. And so the Direwolves, they are able to take it to that international team. It's just about making it that next step so they can try and continue to make international events and continue to take it to international teams, maybe make a playoffs at the next major or something like that. That would be the next realistic step for them, especially if they want to continue their dynasty here in APAC South.
They've certainly been building up quite a bit of momentum. What will stop them? I don't know if no, this might, but Harambe has unfortunately apparently tested positive for COVID, and so he's not feeling great right now. He will be, of course, playing. You can see him in the bottom right, but he says on Twitter, "I'm literally so ill right now."
Oh no, and he's taking a sip of some tea as well. Hopefully that's the remedy for...
He looks great.
He does, he does.
He looks great. I also like the touch. He's got the Charlotte Major, what's that called?
The lanyard?
Lanyard, that's the word I was
There
looking
you
for. He's
go.
got the lanyard in the background, which is a nice little kind of, I guess, reminder of how far he's taken it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be feeling pretty proud of myself as well if I was a player and I'd made it that far. That's a very incredible feat for the Direwolves. And I think taking it to bank as well, Dev, it makes me wonder, why have the Direwolves decided to take wildcard to bank? I feel like Direwolves, if there's any team in APAC South, I feel like they've always had a more diverse map pool than some of the other teams in the league. I wonder why they're taking wildcard to a map that they're actually quite strong on.
Yeah, and that's going to make it a tough task for them. But of course, I mean, yeah, wildcard are good on bank, right? But I think it's pretty safe to say both of these teams are good on bank. Like, Direwolves' record is 5-0. This is, in fact, their best map, according to the stats that we've got here. They've beaten teams like the Knights in APAC South. They've beaten teams like Fury, the Chiefs, Cyclops, back in the 6 Invitational qualifiers. So, yeah, I mean, this is a strong map for Wildcard, but it's equally a strong map for Direwolves. And so I guess what that does mean is we get to really see the best out of both of these teams. This isn't uncertain territory for either team. There's a lot of VODs out there on how both these teams play it. Of course, we have a couple of new ingredients and spiced up into the mix with Azami, which we've already seen a bit of, and Sens, which we haven't seen quite so much of. But this is going to be a strong map for both teams, which puts even more pressure on that they can deliver to the standard they have set for themselves.
And speaking of Azami and Sens, I do remember last time that we saw Bank, we saw Wildcard play Bank specifically, they were actually bringing out the Sens on this open and staff room bomb site when they attacked it, but we didn't get to see the gadget, and I was so disappointed. You could not imagine the disappointment on my face. I think we were just on the desk for that one, so we didn't get to cast over the top of that, but I was like, no, I can't believe it. We didn't get to see the smoke screen or projector screen or whatever we wanted, or whatever we decide to call it. I really hope we get to see it again today, because Wildcard, they are bringing us to Bank once again, and I'm really rooting for it. I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Sens, because just as a gadget, as a util, as a full package, right? Like, not a lot of people are saying good things about that assault rifle. Of course, Sens is a 1-speed, 3-armor operator, which do not get a lot of play on attack outside of shields, and even then, shields don't get a lot of play. And the gadget, I mean, it's nice, but is it really good enough to overcome the other downsides that bringing Sens might be?
Well, in my opinion, I think that smokes in Siege are very underutilized. I think they're underutilized for a reason, though. They are very difficult to work with. Sometimes if you land a bad smoke, it kind of just sort of lands in the wrong place and you leave a little bit of haze for the defenders. There's no way your attacker is going to win that, right? If they have like an accidental line of sight or something like that. And so I think for Siege players, that creativity and the innovation around smokes and lines of sight on the attack isn't there yet. I don't think it's developed and matured in our meta, but I think as people start to get more creative with it, then we'll see Sens come into much more fruition, because I can imagine that on some bomb sites, being able to cut off multiple lines of sight with something that's consistently cutting off your line of sight, it's not finicky like a smoke, is going to be very good for the attack. But here we go now. Bank, the fly-through has played, and we are getting into the match.
Can't wait for it. Wildcard and Direwolves stepping up to the plate. Both teams having won their first match in APAC South. Well, for one of them, that streak is about to be added. And will it be Wildcard, the Aussies, who are on a serious streak coming off an OCS championship, or Direwolves, who haven't lost an APAC South game all year?
Ying as the first ban to come out from the Direwolves. Quite a spicy little ban here. Ying often being used as a last-second crutch to flood into the site, clear out any anchors that are unknowing, and Ossa being taken out. Interesting from WILDCARD.
Yeah, well, it's funny because WILDCARD were the team that used it so well, right? So much so that Lycolis from Fury actually specifically pointed it out in his interview just earlier today, saying, hey, we saw how good WILDCARD were at using the Ossa, and there you go, that Azami is gone.
No. I'm so disappointed right now. I mean, it must mean that Azami is just so crucial on this map, but damn, we don't get to see Azami. I'm so devastated.
WILDCARD did ban the Azami in their game against Fury, so they clearly just don't want to play against Azami on this map. And we did see it used by Chiefs and Fury in the first game today to pretty good effect. Like, there's so many positions. Like, that Azami is just so versatile. We even got to see Chiefs use it to cut off a line of sight in a soft wall, which was pretty awesome, and allow for a player to escape. But of course, let's jump into it first round, and immediately, look at those beautiful operator cards. We've got some WILDCARD ones fully synced on that WILDCARD roster.
We're missing Cairo.
Well,
oh, it's blocked by his gun.
Could just
I understand.
Be blocked by the
okay.
gun. Yeah, I mean, at that point, like, why would you use that on Buck? I guess.
I guess you don't think about it when you're equipping everything. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh dear, here we go. Starting off on CEO, top floor for the Direwolves. They brought along the cap can as well, which is something that we don't often see. I guess it does bring a C4, which maybe they anticipate the plan. It could be pre-placed or something like that. But what they've elected to do actually is put these Syrio gates on the breach, on the right side of the breach, going into CEO. This is typically where the attackers will make their breach and try and make the plant just behind the little table. WILDCARD have done it plenty of times with the Ossa shield as well in the last time we watched them play Banks. So not a bad adaptation here from the Direwolves.
WILDCARD are going to be bringing the exact tools that they need using repick. And they have decided that that is a couple of peculiar ones, right? Like, yeah, you might see Nook every now and then, you might see Zero every now and then, might see Flores or Monty, but like, how often do you see all four of those operators at the same time?
Uh-oh.
We have just gone grayscale, all right. That was kind of cool. If that happens again, can we do like a Noir cast?
Yes. Oh my gosh, we should absolutely do that. That's exactly what I was thinking about as well. That would be so funny. Okay, anyway, getting derailed immediately by the game. WILDCARD now starting to make their way around, up and around the building. Pat's starting to get on this infamous parking rappel with the Hibana in play as well. This is something we haven't talked about yet. Hibana has slipped through the ban phase, and what that does mean is that this canter cutoff, as we like to call it, is much more easily accessed by WILDCARD.
However, there is a mute jammer. Direwolves already having a counter for that setup. Interesting to see one of those walls actually not reinforced. How's this Flores going to go against that mute as well? I do wonder. Because WILDCARD have brought a really specific set of tools here, right? You've got the Nook as well, like for a potential lurk or for the nades. Flashes to come over.
And this is a very classic WILDCARD 1, 2, 3, right? Here we go. Chuck in the utility. Is the nade ready to follow up? Pat sends in a second flashbang, unfortunately flashing Cairo as well, but that means there's no more utility in the way, except for this one. Oh, goodness!
Oh
that C4 almost hitting the mark onto Pat, taken to a slither of HP, and the wall can start getting open. Impact tricks from Jackie Wu, but there are too many Hibana pellets to deal with.
Yeah, and that's good from WILDCARD. Just 2 at a time means that there will never be enough impacts to deal with all of them. Whether... will this be enough for WILDCARD? Like, they don't really have a great line of sight yet. OJ, though, getting a lot of info, feeling the pressure. WILDCARD need a little bit more bite to their push.
That's a lot of intel as well from OJ. He can tell you, okay, there's no one behind that shield anymore. You're free to walk up to the breach and start getting that wall open as well. So WILDCARD using the Monty to full effect here to start getting their way into the bomb site.
But in classic WILDCARD fashion, time is ticking away. Less than a minute remains. Of course, Direwolves still have some Yokais up and able to deny plant in that late round. WILDCARD will have to explode. Cairo will have to have an impact as OJ starts to push on forward with the Monty, but he goes down. Cairo's got to go big here from the main stairs, but he can't see anybody. Milo dies to full damage, and WILDCARD fall flat on their faces.
WILDCARD pulling it too little too late in that execute there, trying to claw their way into the belly of the beast. Didn't quite work out for them. Too many yokai drones, lines of sight being held, and direwolves. They weren't willing to give their life away in that mid-round, throw in any picks, because they knew that WILDCARD would take their time. As you so say, it is just the WILDCARD way, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, disappointingly, it's, I don't know, I mean, that was just a weird push from WILDCARD. Like, yeah, they did some things kind of normally, but I didn't quite see the point of, like, the Monty, for example. I didn't necessarily see the point of the Zero or the Flores. I didn't really see that utility have much of an impact. And, yeah, I don't know, weird round. But nonetheless, Direwolves now going down to the basement, and this looks like a pretty typical hold, right? You've got all of your typical anchors for this objective. You've got your pulse for information on the plant. You've got your smoke for plant denial. You even have a warden, despite the Ying being banned.
And something that we'll have to see Direwolves do differently from the last two teams that we just watched play Bank is that when Pecan uses that pulse scanner, he needs to be able to call that plant. Not only call that the plant going down, but exactly where it is for those smoke canisters to be able to land. And with Ying gone, like you said, going for a flood type execute is made a lot more difficult because of the lack of those candelas. So it really is on the onus of Direwolves to take their time and burn that utility properly and try and deny WILDCARD that entry into the site.
Souffle is going to be the thorn in WILDCARD's side on the roam, making sure that they won't be able to swiftly take map control. Even if he dies here, it will be worth it if he can deny time, but the first pick's already gone down. Pika does take out Milo with an early C4, and that's all the C4's gone, so no plant denial in that form, but it may not matter. Wow, what a read there.
Just so well played from the Direwolves, looking for a pick and trying to dial it back. We can see here the open hatch is open and accessible to them. So they are playing for this roam, but not one that is too aggressive. Not one where they're sticking onto that top floor, where they're going to stick and open for too long. Jackie Wu now just trying to perhaps look for a drone, look for that bottom square control, pull it out to his teammates before they fall off. And wow, this is just such good synthesis from the Direwolves.
This is really quite an unusual kind of roam. It's not like a hard roam where you've got all these utility offside. You just got a bunch of players backing themselves in. Jackie Wu, was he heard by that drone? The drone spots him. Gun up, ready to take the fight, but Cairo gets the wall bang.
And there we go, the Direwolves now evened out in the man count, starting to think about perhaps rotating back down to the bomb site. Pecan, he seems to be eyeing that hatch pretty closely. There we go, he drops. And Souffle, I imagine, will be close to follow, unless he gets caught out by a pinch from Vinny and Cairo.
Great roam clear from WILDCARD despite losing the early player. And time not looking too badly either. Cairo's made great use of this skeleton key, and now WILDCARD turn their attention to blue. And the Warden, of course, who is playing in there. Cairo finds the shot, and that means blue stairs is clear.
55 seconds left to go for WILDCARD, and 3 smoke canisters left on the board is not enough time, actually, for the defense to be holding on.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh, that was a bit of a dire play there from Pecan to try and go for the retake, but what can you do? You're in the 1 versus 4.
A dire play, you say? Well, Dire Wolves are looking fairly sketchy now as ED is the last one standing. He, of course, has the smoke babe, but he's now been naded. He has been fired up, and he is pushed all the way back into goal vault as WILDCARD can easily secure this plant on the back of Pat. The retake attempt now is fruitless as Cairo locks in what was a fantastic round for him, and a great start here for WILDCARD to retaliate.
The Direwolves, they're getting a little overzealous on the roam, overstaying their welcome, but WILDCARD able to capitalize in on that mid-round, find the cutoffs and the picks that they needed, and eventually convert that into a round win. I think WILDCARD, I'm just really impressed by their entry play recently. I think over the past few playdays, we've really seen the teamwork. We see them really, this neural network, a drone goes in and 2 people are immediately cross-firing onto that Roma playing inside of open. That's just so well played by WILDCARD, and for Direwolves, they will have to be a little more cautious next time they play that bomb site.
In fact, it looks like Direwolves will be going straight back down to that bomb site. Couple of operator changes though. They go for the same kind of loose roam that didn't tend to work out for them so well.
Changing this up a little bit. there's a yokai on the board this time from Souffle, so he's not electing to take any more Melusi. And yeah, like you said, we've got those Shamika launches instead, which haven't found a lot of success today, we must say.
I'm scared,
but
Maddie.
I'm also a little nervous, I'm a little scared. But this time, Dev, we do have two forms of intel on the side of Direwolves. So it is on the onus of Souffle and of Pecan to be able to call that plant together and try and make that known to Jackie Wu, right? Last time we saw the Chichanka being played in the last series that we casted together, there was a lack of intel. We didn't know what was going on, right? So this time, maybe the Direwolves have cracked the puzzle.
And Direwolves are a team that one of their strengths is coordination and just being in sync. And so for that reason, I do have a little bit more faith in their ability to use that Tachanka to deny the plant. Overall, a lot more passive though. The only player really tempting fate off site is Harambe, I believe. Wait, is it anyone roaming? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, so it's just Harambe who is still on site, but he was just looking for any drones coming down the main stairs. And with that, and ED coming back to site, Direwolves have fully forfeited the entire map, leaving Wildcard to take it.
Milo deciding to drop the skylight on the main stairs, just take away almost half of his health. But anyway, Wildcard with full map control now, able to start working those hatches, get their way into the building and planning out their attack pretty soon, because they will have to start burning that utility if they want some redundancy in their execute.
Kyra on the front foot. Yeah, wow, Wildcard have made such good time here. Direwolves did not tempt fate at all on this roam, and it means that Wildcard have so much map control. When will they start opening these hatches, though? You've got some exothermic charges. You've got the tin can opener from OJ, which is perfect for opening these open area hatches. Great use of the Capitao, of course. Wildcard is looking just about set up for a plan, I think, Mandy.
They have to go for it now, though. There's so much denial. They absolutely have to go for it now. The plan is being called by Pecan, but there's no denial. The Shamika launches start to come in through. Pat, he's not able to get the diffuser down, but that's 2 smoke canisters and 3 or 4 Shamika launches already gone. Direwolves, they're not pacing their utility at all, and there's still a whole minute left to go.
Wildcard, still have a little bit of utility left. I think OJ still has another bolt, not sure whether it's smoke or fire. That's actually 2 fire bolts and 1 smoke. He returns fire, quite literally. Tempted to go for another pick, but looks like Direwolves have retained their composure and now have a second pick. This is looking to be quite messy, Mandy.
This is absolutely very messy from Wildcard. They had all the time on the board that they needed to start burning out that utility, but getting a little bit greedy, a few seconds too late to try and go for the planner. Here we go. OJ, we'll try again.
Vinny's got to cover. 76 rounds in this LMG. Where is the plant denial? Shot out of the air! What a savior moment from Vinny, but he immediately goes down. OJ low on HP. Milo's position revealed as 2 players try to retake good for 1, finds the second! And now Wildcard, both of their players have next to no HP left. The plan is being stuck. Peeker can long arm it. Milo can't land the shots! Direwolves steal a round away that should not have been theirs.
The thieves, that's what Direwolves are. Absolute thieves of Wildcard. They had everything they needed, Wildcard. They had the perfect setup. Even though that they were down numbers, they knew, okay, they're running out of utility now. Now let's go for the plant. We have the post plant that we need. But a small oversight, we can't see the denial. And both players rotating up onto this hatch meant there was no one on the blue stairs anymore to try and contest that denial either. So Wildcard, so close, yet so far.
I'm pretty sure that Wildcard never opened the server hatch. I'm pretty sure. I don't know whether Cairo brought flashes instead of the secondary hard breach charge or what, but I'm pretty confident that Wildcard never opened server hatch, which meant that there was no easy way to deny the defuse position that we saw Direwolves take. Wow, what a round from Direwolves. That was really back and forth, not gonna lie. That kind of toyed with my heartstrings a little bit. We had Direwolves go up 5v3. Wildcard somehow still managed to plant, thanks to Vinny's insane cover. And then, of course, just to add another plot twist, Direwolves came on back.
But Dev, I think that's what we're expecting going into this game. We said on the desk that these teams are both good at this map. This is the statistically best map for Direwolves. It's also a fantastic map for Wildcard. We've seen them play it so much as of recent days. And I think that that round is just a testament to how close this game is going to be.
Only 3 rounds in, and it feels like a hell of a lot more than that so far, I tell you what. Wildcard still on that attacking side. Only managed to find a win on Locker's CCTV so far, and now they will try their hand at CEO. As that's what Direwolves have decided to take us to this 4th round of the game.
Wildcard changing their approach this time though, not trying to elect for that Kanto cutoff anymore. OJ has brought his flashbangs over to this side, although maybe he's rappelling on the roof to end up doing that anyway. Vinny as well with the set of grenades will start to be able to clear out Jackie Wu's power position here in the stock hallway. No longer electing to do this with Monty, but instead just clear it one by one, have your gun up, have grenades to be able to do this.
Oh, a nade! I think that nade did detonate though, so that means the Mute Jammer is gone. Even though the impact successfully destroyed all of the X-Kairos, I feel like Wildcard can be pretty happy about that. They've cleared out the Mute Jammer and the deployable shield.
Yeah, absolutely. That's huge value out of just one grenade. On top of that, now able to get the wall open, Jackie Wu having no more impact grenades gives them access into the hallway. That's the first step of the wildcard push now done. Now they have to start thinking about, okay, which wall are we going to get open? Which execute are we going to go for?
Souffle. Souffle is right around the corner, and he is definitely going to kill Cairo here. What a knife! Take that straight in the gut. And that's even 4-4 now.
Oh dear, you must be kicking yourself if you're Cairo. You're going, what? I just got on my drone. There's still a guy waiting here for me. I can only imagine the anger, the anguish in the comms right now. But Wildcard, even though one piece of the puzzle's sort of gone down to that, unfortunately, they still have time to work with. They still have time to problem solve and figure out how they want to do this execute. Pat now actually choosing to get this left breach open with his exothermic charge.
Trying to get it right in that corner so that it destroys the wall of Janitor as well. And we're going to see that line of sight open here. Harambe in. A lot of pressure at the moment. Pat tries to take that shot, but can't land it yet.
Will decide to get on the drone instead. Check that there is actually a guy there trying to deny his entry. Puts his gun back up, trying to make his way in. 30 seconds left. They will have to go for an execute at some point here, Dev.
OJ repels on inside, leaving the window duty to Molluska. Pat throws down his first smoke. Can he get a plant? He's going to go for an unusual plant position inside of the smoke. Milo to cover from the windows. Direwolves, what is your response? The yokai is too late, just barely. And that gives Wildcard an opportunity here to clean up the pieces. Just 2 players left, make that only Pika left. What a round for Vinny. And Wildcard can respond 2 rounds apiece.
Wildcard absolutely deserving of that round win as well. They had done every single thing right in this round, even, like you said, down to the detail of getting open the Janitor wall so they could flush out Harambe's position, so he stops him from denying the plant, playing it with the smokes to try and cover in a very unusual spot as well. Everything is just so well thought out if you are Team Wildcard, and that just plays perfectly into this top floor attack.
Kind of excited to see how Wildcard is doing, Mandy. Like, it really feels like a breath of fresh air. And this game, right, I don't feel like this is Direwolves playing badly in the rounds where Wildcard are winning. I just think Wildcard have become a really solid team.
That is exactly the point that I was about to say as well, Dev. I can't believe it. You've just read my mind. I was going to say, typically when we have games like this that are kind of back and forth, it's sort of the tale of 2 halves where you have maybe one team is playing really well or one team is just playing really bad and the other team's capitalizing on their mistakes. But this is a game of 2 titans on the map of Bank. They're both playing amazing Bank, and things, when a small piece goes wrong, that decides the rest of the rounds. And yeah, I just think that the prowess that both these teams have showed on this map, there's so much creativity, there's so much innovation, that it's really tough to decide who comes out on top in each round.
We haven't seen Direwolves play on this bomb site yet, so this perhaps is the determining factor, right, Mandy? Like, we've seen, funnily enough, Direwolves win and lose on both of the other bomb sites that they've gone for. As this 3rd and final bomb site, if this is one that they can lock down, that would definitely sway the defensive half to their side. If not, Wildcard will run away with it, because of course if Direwolves can get another win on one of the other sites, like, that does lock them out. I mean, they are now, you know, desperately looking for a site that can win successfully.
Well, I think it's fair enough in this point to try a tertiary site. We've already had 4 rounds of the first 2 bomb sites, and Wildcard, we know they're a team that has very strong adaptability. So Direwolves, they don't want to take them back to something that they've already seen twice because they know that Wildcard will have an even further and improved and further optimized game plan than we've ever seen before, right? Such is the nature of Wildcard. So trying something new, I don't mind that from Direwolves.
One thing I do quite like is the amount of info gathering Direwolves have brought, particularly that Valkyrie from Souffle. Milo's responded with the IQ. A Wildcard used to be a team that would just religiously ban Valkyrie every single game. And the fact that they've instead decided to start adopting these Azami bans means that they've had to adapt, and you can see that in the form of this IQ pick.
Cairo as well, now with that top floor being swept out, he knows from the IQ that there are no more Valkyrie cameras on that top floor, can start to make work on the vertical, making sure no one is playing inside of archives and inside of tellers. And the rest of Wildcard can start shaping up, putting pressure on the horizontal, putting pressure on this ground floor, trying to catch any Direwolves players rotating back to the site.
And look, you asked for it, Mandy, and Pat has obliged. We do have the Sens in the server.
Yes.
What is the idea with a Sens on this staff room open area attack?
I have no idea. We have to wait and see, Dev. I have absolutely no idea how to use this operator, but I'm sure that Wildcard do.
On top of that, I kind of forgot that Sens also brings the hard breach charge, secondary hard breach. So it's quite a nice boon as well, assisting the Hibana.
That's actually big on Bank, Dev. Having a hard breach charge, getting open hatches is so important, but here we go. 35 seconds left. They have to execute. Where is the Sens going to go down?
Pat and Milo grouping up together. Time is of the essence. Here comes the Sens. And the line of sight denied now. Pat has a beautiful position as the second one goes out, but he has peaked! ED times to perfection. And now Wildcard left with nothing but a dream as they explode into the site. And of course, Direwolves are there. The trades back and forth, but Cairo does not have time to get that diffuser down. A very close round and a very nice attempt with the Sens, but Direwolves just a leg ahead.
Ooh, I didn't mind that from Wildcard though. That was quite exciting. I think that they put down the Sens and then they hesitated. They hesitated to go in with that smoke screen up, not really capitalizing on that line of sight that was cut off from the Direwolves. And although they did quite successfully burn some of that utility, I think a C4 was chucked through to the depot plant or something like that. Just that hesitation, but then not having enough time in the late round, it always seems to be the demise of Wildcard. They always leave it slightly too late, but with no redundancy.
Well, does mean that now we've seen a slew of rounds in a row for Direwolves. Well, sorry, a slew of... No, I noted it down incorrectly. I'm wrong, never mind. We have now seen Wildcard take the lead. That's for sure. 3-2, and they can make it 4-2 on their defense, which I think would be pretty significant. We've seen a lot of Bank be a little bit attacker-sided these days. So I'm just cautious, wary, and starting to think that that Wildcard really need to pick it up here and win this final round of the half through a solid shot at winning that second half and coming away with points.
I think that each round has just been so close. It's so tough to call who is going to win the round. And Wildcard, they actually look pretty good on this top floor. The last push that we saw them do was perfection, even down to every little detail, where the smoke was placed, how they went for the execute. And if they can replicate that again, do it even cleaner, that's high hopes for Wildcard.
Souffle on this roam with the Valkyrie though. Wonder what he's going to be able to do. And we found Cairo last time.
He did check it this time. Well, Cairo. Yep, that was very funny.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. Not going to happen. So yeah, what really have Direwolves changed? Looking at the operator lineup, nothing. But in terms of how they're playing, really not that much, I feel like.
I feel like Direwolves, I feel like they haven't adapted enough, to be honest. Oh, unless that happens. That's a big piece of the puzzle done for Direwolves.
Body utility gone, and of course Vinny had a massive multi-kill on the previous CEO attack.
And here we go, the first few set of impact tricks come out for Jackie Wu, but it actually misses. And that's a line of sight into the hallway that Pat can now use against Jackie Wu. He's stuck on this one reinforcement here that's, I think, also about to be blown up with another set of X-Kairos. And there we go, finally the impact trick comes through, but it still doesn't kill all of the X-Kairos.
Oh! Where was that from? Was that from the hallway?
Probably.
OJ just peeked on through, and now Wildcard have a real solid chance here, redeeming that early player loss. OJ goes straight in, finishes the player, and goes straight out.
Yeah, and that was just perfect from OJ. We saw OJ in the top down. He was sitting in this janitor hallway, holding the line of sight once those X-Kairos started to go down, because he knew Jackie Wu was stuck there. There was only one reinforcement he could play off. He had to wiggle at one point, and eventually he finds that cutoff. So just so well played from OJ, playing off his own utility. And here we go again, the same breach being put on the wall, looking for the exact same execute, and no one to contest it.
Just look how far back all these Direwolves players are. The only thing that Direwolves have to try and deny this plant is the Yokais, and well, they were too late the previous defense. OJ's got some real solid info, and this is going to be the execute for sure.
Not much time left though, 35 seconds, and I don't know if there are any Yokais up left for Pecan, so they'll have to flood. They'll have to flood here if they're the defenders wanting to go for the retake.
Pat starting to force that plant down. Where are the Yokai drones for Pika? There's one, and it does deny the plant, but it is not enough. Pat goes down, but not out as of yet, forcing Wildcard to replace. It's now on ED and Pika to go big. Pika must have another Yokai, but ED is continuing to start pushing forward. The retake is well and truly alive, but the plant has been secured. And now Wildcard will have to rely on Milo. On the windows, it is him versus two players from the Direwolves, and the jump out is not there! ED cannot secure the shot, making this a 1v1. Pika has to pull out a miracle to come away with an advantage on for the half, but Milo is just playing it so good, so cold, and that is the 1 versus 2 clutch. Wildcard are keeping place with the Direwolves.
What an unreal game we have here, Zev. Back and forth between these two teams. They just keep them on their toes. There is no breathing space between anybody right now. Now the Direwolves, they will swap onto the attacking half. Wildcard, they will bring themselves to the defense. And I'm just so curious how this half is going to go. Will it turn the tide? Will we see a big change in playstyle that maybe one of them can't keep up with? Because so far, it has been really back and forth. It's so hard to separate these teams.
Yeah, I mean, just literally like round for round, you know. Direwolves won first, Wildcard won second, Direwolves third, Wildcard fourth, Direwolves fifth, and then Wildcard again. So, look, if the pattern continues, we should say that like Direwolves will have a strong opening round on their attack. But hey, at this point, it's anybody's game. Both of these teams are playing some phenomenal Rainbow Six right now. Wildcard have been elevated to another level that we just haven't seen from them in the last year and a half, I'm going to say. And now they have finally stepped up, and this new roster is looking to be incredibly deadly and might even be the team to steal the first points off of Direwolves all year long.
Well, I think the big question now here is, for Wildcard, are they just a good attacking team on Bank? Is their attack just phenomenal and clinical? Can they repeat that on the defense? And then the same for Direwolves. Will they drop the ball here on this attack? Attack can be pretty tricky. Bank is a big map to clear. There's lots of steps involved in it, right? So now I think switching halves, it's about which team can adapt more quickly, pick up the momentum, and continue the progress that they had on the previous half.
Looks like a heavy roam setup for Wildcard, however. ED is going to quickly move into the building and say, oh, hello, Goyo. Very, very scared Goyo. Holding the angle is OJ. But really worried, of course, where there is a Monsi, there is usually a player behind it. Where there is a smoke, there is usually a fire. And that does pretty succinctly fall off Wildcard.
Very interesting clear actually from the Direwolves, because although you said there might be double trouble with ED, there was actually no one behind him. ED's pressure here was just sort of assumed pressure, if you will. There's still no one to follow up behind him. They're coming from other avenues instead. Pat not realizing there's a player in Electro and a player top square, trying to rotate back down through blue. What on earth is happening for Wildcard?
God.
Oh wow!
Milo does finally get one kill, Milo. but immediately traded back. What an unusual roam clear. I love that from Direwolves, and it is successful. Yes, of course it is. Now Cairo feeling that pressure. One gas babe and then the retreat. He decides he's better off falling back, but of course that Monty has survived the roam clear. And Souffle's found yet another pick as Vinny tried to retake open area.
Now this is really strange. This is by far the strangest roam clear I've ever seen on Bank Dep. OJ and Cairo now left on their lonesome on the bomb site. The Monty, ever so present, pushes down the main stairs, still on his own. Starts to get fired out by Goyo's shields, but he's safe anyway. He's still got 3 other teammates here ready for the push.
Pressure is now on, and there you go. ED says hello, drops down the red hallway. This Monty has been next level. Direwolves have turned up their gameplay by adding in this little wildcard operator into their arsenal. On the back of it, the plant and likely the round, as Cairo is clueless. Lands a bit of damage, but it is just nowhere near enough. And the Vulcan canister's detonated, of course, on top. And that is the final kill, a headshot to add to Supplay's already beautiful rounds. The most dominant we have seen so far, and Direwolves once again take the lead.
Oh, and that's so frustrating for Wildcard. I mean, if you're Wildcard right now and you're in the comms, what do you think it feels like? I mean, it must be really tough for them to keep the mental going. They just lost to something that was really unconventional. That was annoying, even infuriating, right? It's important that Wildcard, they take a step back here and do some meditating, take a breath and go, okay, that was annoying, that was frustrating, we didn't know how to deal with that, but we can't drop the ball here against Direwolves. They've really taken us toe-to-toe. And Direwolves, they're bringing it back again, so Wildcard, they'll have to come up with a solution pretty soon.
I mean, I do wonder whether Dial is going to be able to get away with it again, because Edie has brought that Monty one more time. And I feel like that Monty strategy, like, it's not uncounterable, it's not perfect. It's a bit of a pocket strat, to be real. Like, you were talking about how Edie just marched on forward alone. I think you noticed something.
Well,
I just realized what you've noticed.
I think our observer has noticed something, actually. I think our observer just then was trying to show us Cairo on the Oryx, just as we were speaking about Monty. This is one of the counters to it, right? Oryx, he cancels the animation of that Monty shield, so as long as Cairo is working with one of his teammates, maybe this is the crack to the code. Who knows?
Not bad from you, Sky, on the ob sticks. Of course, goated. And yeah, I mean, I quite like that read. It may well make the difference. I mean, if Cairo is in a 1v1 with ED, then yeah, he is toast. But the thing is, if ED pushes in with teammates, I don't think we're going to see Cairo have the ability to actually make use of that dash.
Well, so far, we've seen ED push in with the Monty all on his lonesome. But this time, it seems like he's backing up his teammates. We do see Jackie Wu now playing behind ED. Cairo also waiting on that top floor with a crossover from Pat. So they are thinking about ways to deal with this. And there it is, the Monty.
Ooh. The C4 threatened, says, hey, come near me, and I'm going to C4 you. But Eddie has such confidence with the way he's playing the Monty. Pat managed to land some shot on the feet. It's a lot of damage.
And there we go, an impact comes out, but Pat, he's just been meleeed to death. No one playing his cross. Oh no, but Vinny is able to find a trade on the back of the Monty Cairo as well. The Monty's actually not working out in the favor of Direwolves playing as a team.
Oh
no.
Very narrow. Really solid effort there from ED, but like you said, doesn't matter if the players behind him just lose their fights to the wildcard players. And now wildcard have forfeited that top floor run away with their numbers advantage.
Wildcard actually end up using the Monty themselves to dance around it, look for the player behind them, and now we're a man deficit down for the Direwolves. Wildcard, this is their chance to even up the scoreline again and keep toes here with Direwolves.
Thinker going down means ED will not be getting any more HP this round. And a minute on the clock does put that time pressure back onto Direwolves as ED starts to take some more map control into Archives, but Wildcard will not give them anything.
So I think that the Direwolves realizing, okay, we've kind of lost our main hard breach, going for this quad wall push is a little less viable now. So we need to get a big line of sight open, a big entryway, which is exactly what Pecan is doing, open now inside of Tells and Archives instead. But what is ED doing? He's just snuck his way into the bomb site, trying to look for an unknowing defender. Oh no, player on drone!
Souffle, what are you doing? Vinny! How is he this good? Almost double digits on the scoreboard. And now Pika has to 1 versus 4, and Vinny manages to break double digits. Wildcard once again, toe for toe and blow for blow with Direwolves.
Wildcard played that round really well. I'm really impressed by that top floor hold they did. They made sure that they were holding the crossfires. And although Pat did go down to a melee and a pistol kill, he was able to be traded back by Vinny. Vinny actually capitalizing off the Monty's position. And what are these attackers doing? That's the second one he's managed to kill behind the Monty, both early in the round and late in the round as well, playing that to perfection on his part and eventually winning out the round for Wildcard. So well played from Wildcard. Direwolves, I feel like they dropped the ball there a little bit, getting a little overconfident, relying too much on that Monty push for protection when actually it's the Monty's back that's turned to you. You could be shooting your teammate instead.
It's interesting, this Monty, isn't it? Like, I think the way we saw it used in the first round was beautiful, but it was kind of like a pocket strat. Like, it wasn't, to me, it didn't look like a solid way. If Direwolves approached every single attack like that, they would probably lose them. You know, and we saw that when the second round rolled along and ED is not successful at all and all his teammates fall around him. Wildcard have perhaps read a little bit into what's happening. You know, this round they're not even considering bringing an operator like an Oryx or a Smoke or a Legion to try and counter that Monty because they're just confident in playing against it.
Well, one other thing that can still cancel this Monty is the Yokai drones, because the Sonic Boom does cancel the animation of it, and so if someone is looking at the Monty at the time, they can try and shoot out the feet and go for the kill, although sometimes that can be quite difficult to coordinate. But like you said, Wildcard, they're not going to bring any more direct counters anymore aside from this Yokai, but instead they need that utility to back them in for other things. They need the Womai, they need the Jaeger. That's mission critical for the strategy that they're playing here in the Janitor hallway with that shield. There isn't really room for that many counters, and we'll see if Direwolves can make use of that.
Yokai scouting out for Milo. The Yana gets a lot of info on what's clear and where these players are. ED has actually managed to push in solo once again. Very dangerous game he is playing. Needs to be careful not to be caught off guard, but it does mean Direwolves are getting so much information.
And I kind of like this a little bit more from ED. I mean, the first time that we saw ED play this Monty alone, all it did was divert the attention away from the rest of his teammates. And because Wildcard was staring at the Monty, they were so distracted, all of his other teammates collapsed in around him, weren't able to find the kills. So going back to the old tricks, I don't mind that from the Direwolves.
Milo been misstracked here?
I think so.
Souffle pushes in. Oh no, Souffle saw him. Definitely. Milo didn't see that drone, I don't reckon, so he thinks his position has not been revealed. He hears those drones, and there you go. Now he has to fall back. How much progress have Direwolves realistically made here? Have they cleared out this stock position? Souffle is now on the roam hunt. Oh, there's a nade. Vinny's saved by his Womai disc. Just barely.
But it doesn't matter anyway, shield has gone down, and that was the mission of that utility dump there from the Direwolves. Now they have to start getting control of Janitor. Fighting Pat with the shotgun, but there's still a Monty in play, and if I am Pat, I'm going, oh no, I'm really dreading what's about to come.
Especially if a breach comes out onto that CO wall, especially if there are vertical nades. Pat will be feeling some serious pressure. The Yokais of OJ trying to do as much as humanly possible, but it's getting hella difficult. Jackie Wu sprays down and opens up the equation for Wildcard.
Pat just left in the dark there by his teammates to die in the hellhole that was Janitor. Everything was being opened up around him. Milo is now trying to claw one back with the assistance of Vinny as well, both here on this ground floor, trying to find the pick into kitchen. Vinny is able to find one through the hatch and might even be good for two.
Vinny!
There he is, good for two.
And he has been on fire all game long. OJ now, the player on site that Wildcard will have to look to. Cairo from the hallway, and Vinny as well. Vinny almost lands his third kill. Cairo's coming up in such a strong position, but the Yokais, like you said, they've done so much work. Can they do enough? OJ, a little bit to the left, and you may have just won the round. But Direwolves continue this back and forth brawl all the way to what could very soon be match points.
Oh my gosh, Dev, that was millimeters off being an OJ clutch round there for Wildcard. Millimeters. To the left. Of course, they can't know that. They can't know that. They don't have the outlines. They don't have the silhouettes that we do. But wow, how close these rounds have been. There's no way that Direwolves could have known that, right? They could have gone, okay, let's just go for the plant. Just go for the plant right now. And then all of a sudden, maybe OJ pops up and he finds that kill. What are you going to do? That's a wild card round. That's momentum swinging their way. But because they lost their round, now they're taking their tactical timeout. Now they've decided to recollect and figure out what they want to do next. I think this is just such a crucial point in this game.
You call it a tactical timeout, I call it a tactical loo break. I think that's what Vinny's gone for here, and he's back! Nice quick one. Yeah, look, these guys have been playing out of their minds. Really, if you told me that Wildcard was going to bring this level of gameplay to the undefeated team of APAC South in Direwolves, I would have said, look, I'll believe it when I see it, and now I'm seeing it.
I mean, yeah, I just can't believe it. Like, Wildcard, this new and rejuvenated Wildcard that we've seen is so clinical. They're so composed. But right now, I think the looks on their faces kind of tell the story. I just think the long faces, they look so sad. They look really rattled by that last round. That was so close to a round win from our perspective, right? From our perspective, we thought, okay, that was really close. OJ, he denied the plant once, almost twice, and it could have been a wildcard win. But from Wildcard's perspective, Pat, he died without any of his friends helping him out. Vinny and Milo, not super successful on their try retake below. It didn't really amount to anything in the end for the late round execute, and Jackie Wu just ended up walking all over them anyway. So from Wildcard's perspective, that was a tough round, and that was probably the round that was the most lost out of all the ones that we've seen so far. Now they're going to attempt the basement once again. Pretty standard setup here for Wildcard as well, bar no Tachanka. Fair enough, honestly. And we'll see if they can bring back a rounds here.
I mean, if you look at the pattern of these teams just trading rounds back and forth, you wouldn't be too worried for Wildcard now, right? But when you look at the bomb site that they're playing here, Locker CCTV, which they have not successfully won yet. In fact, Wildcard have only won a single bomb site, and that was open area stuff. Now they've got to go back to this site here where they would really trounced on their own by this Monty, and they need to have a much better setup, a much better defense, and they're leaning into that cap can to try and support it.
And I think they are leaning into a slightly more reserved defense as well. There's a lot more utility for the late round being invested. There's Goyo this time still being stuck, but another 2 C4s as well. I assume that these players, they're going to want to fall back much faster than they did previously. OJ already making his way out of tellers, straight back into open, and Cairo finding the first pick. That's kind of all that Wildcard need to have done here. They don't want to get overzealous, but they do anyway. Cairo missing out on the rotate back as Jackie Wu evens the score count.
He had the read on it as well, pre-aimed, but just couldn't land the shot. Does that mean that Direwolves are now off better in the exchange? OJ falls back to site, and I believe that means all of Wildcard are back to site almost. Milo, tempting fate. The longer he sticks around, the more likely Wildcard will come away with a man disadvantage.
And there we go, that's 2 C4s back on the site, 1 lost in the form of Cairo, but that's not too bad for Wildcard. These things happen. Sometimes you lose some of your friends in the round. You just have to collect your way back, make sure you don't lose any more. And that's exactly what Wildcard have done. Now, Direwolves, they're in their mid-round. They're stalling out a little bit, taking their time to go through the rest of the map, actually check that open is clear, knowing that Wildcard like to roam, and start to get those hatches open with the tin can opener that ED has. But it doesn't matter anyway, because both the hatches are open because the roam that Wildcard was doing. So, few steps done for Direwolves. They just have to convert it into an execute, and it seems like they're going to go for a backtake.
Yeah, in fact, using secondary hard breach to open the elevator hatch. Could use the other secondary hard breach on the lobby hatch. Looks like ED is actually going to go to garage. He's jumping out the lone office window. This is very unusual.
I feel like we say that a lot about the Direwolves in this particular match. Everything that we do, we are confused by. Can you imagine if you're Wildcard right now? OJ's probably calling, okay, the back hatch is just open. They might go for a back take. Vinny goes, all right, I'm going to go look
nice
at garage
C4.
just in case. That was a good C4 to follow up, but does not connect onto Jackie Wu. 30 seconds left to
Vinny!
go. And Vinny, he catches ED out off guard. Wildcard, this looks pretty good for them.
That could be the opener for this round, but immediately traded back, and there's Pat to reply. Diffuser cold on the ground in garage, and OJ doubles down. There's Jackie Wu, but it's not enough. The Wildcard continue this back and forth. all the way to break point. We are at 5 rounds apiece.
Wow, what an incredible round that was. I mean, Wildcard, they knew exactly how they had to play it to be able to bring themselves back in. They didn't feel rattled by that last round where they really lost out on the positions. They really lost out on the gunfights. This time, they played it methodically. This time, it didn't feel like the comms were cluttered. It felt like everyone was on the same page. Vinny knew, okay, Edie, he is the lone wolf of the Direwolves. When he takes the Monty around the map, he does it on his own. And so as soon as he saw the Monty in Garage, he knew there's going to be no one to follow him up anyway. So let's go and take that fight. Let's take that 1 versus 1 so I can rejoin back my teammates for when they flood the site and have more guns up, have more crossfires. And I just think Wildcard are so composed and collected, even in such a tough game.
And not only is that a gamble, but it's also, I mean, a good read, but it's a gamble from Vinny, right? Like, you're saying he's taking a 1v1 with the Monty. If there was any other player there, Vinny is a dead man, right?
Yeah.
But because Wildcard have just read into this gameplay from Direwolves so well, they have read into how ED is playing this Monty. They know he is always, almost always, by himself and pushing solo and playing for information and for pressure. And that means that Wildcard have managed to keep pace. And guess what, Mandy? Now Wildcard is actually going back to the bomb site that they have already won. And that means they are a shoo-in for match point here. They would be the very first team to take a point off of Direwolves in all of 2022.
That is huge for Wildcard, and I think it just goes to show how much they've matured as a team. At this point, in the Wildcard camp, it's about details. You know, we don't get to say that about a lot of teams. Right? Most teams at this stage in the stage, wow, poor sentence, they would be focusing on the basics, making sure that they're not running across silly lines of sight, making sure they're playing together. It's kind of what we saw in that Fury and Chiefs game even. They're sort of just dropping the ball, doing silly things and capitalizing on each other's mistakes. But Wildcard, they're a well-oiled machine now, and each little thing just comes down to the details of each round. The tiny, minute things, like changing your plant spot when you go for an execute on the top floor, like making sure that when you enter into the building, that you have pre-placed drones that you've well-drilled over and over and over again, you know that they're not going to get shot. It's all in the details for Wildcard, but so it is for the Direwolves. And I think if they're able to take this round and get the points off the Direwolves, that would be absolutely amazing for the Wildcard story.
So Direwolves find themselves in a position they have not found themselves in very often at all this year. And so that pressure continues to mount. Harambe takes a lot of damage. Cairo between a rock and a hard place, but Jackie Wu, ever so vigilant, goes for the wall bang. The immediate trade from Vinny, the man of the hour for Wildcard. 14-6. This is the player that we have been turning to as Pat and Jackie Wu managed to trade, and we are at a 3-3 impasse with Milo in an aggressive position.
What a chaotic start to the round as well. There's still 1:50 left on the board, and so much blood has gone down in this battle. Milo now trying to retake this top square. Dangerous position as the double wall is open, and I think there is a player just outside of it. One repels in now into CEO. Vinny and Milo, do they have the pinch on them?
Vinny's trying to retreat, I think. The player from the balcony has now gone into stock and is pushing from the hallway. All 3 Direwolves players are here, and they are hunting Vinny and Milo, who fall on back, forfeit their map control, but escape with their lives.
Goodness, I really feel like Wildcard had to thread the needle there for Vinny and Milo to make it back. That was the only way they could have rotated back, and they just find the timing just to hop over the fence and able to make it back now into the site. Back with OJ, with his alibi clones. So they're all safe now, thankfully. A minute left to go for the Direwolves, and they still have lots of work to do, so I don't mind this from Wildcard. Vertical is now happening for Souffle as well, so progress on either side has not been incredible. So many members have gone down, and I really think anything could happen in this round.
Absolutely would agree with you on that. Direwolves could easily turn this round if they can just find a couple kills. If they can find a pick here, or if they can get a good execute trade here. The Thatcher, ED finally switching off the Monty to support this hard breach, puts OJ in a difficult position. Milo is so far away, and Vinny's been spotted as well, so OJ's about to feel all kinds of pressure as he goes for the swing. He takes down ED, and Vinny gets one as well. It is about to happen. All year long, there has been one team that has been the king of APAC South, and they have finally dropped some points. Wildcard are back.
Such a pivotal round for Wildcard. They must be feeling absolutely incredible about that. The first team ever to take points of Direwolves for the entire stage. But the job is not over yet, Dev. They still have to win the game. And they have a chance to win the game in regulation even if they can claw back the next round in this match. But as this particular match is going, I feel like overtime is kind of imminent, don't you think so?
It feels inevitable that we will be heading to OT. And adding more to that is the fact that the only bomb sites that Wildcard have available are Teller's Archives, which they just won't go, and CEO Exec, which is where they will be going and where they already previously lost to a very strong Direwolves attack. It was that round, Mandy, where we said, man, if OJ had just sprayed a little bit to the left, this game would be over already. But no, Direwolves have a really strong attack on this site. And yeah, while they might be a bit disappointed that they have already dropped some points the first time of the season, they have a real shot at still winning this game and taking the 2 points home. Keeping in mind that every point matters even more than before with this new format. Not the top 4 anymore going to playoffs. It's just top 2 in the league, straight to the major.
So there is a bit of a change this round, Div. Pat has decided that mute is too difficult for him. He hasn't been able to find that many kills with the SMG-11 and the shotgun because he keeps getting pinched out of Janitor, fair enough. He's decided to go Oryx instead, which is a direct counter to the Monty. And so if Pat decides he wants to play in this Janitor hallway with Oryx, he can absolutely make quick work of that Monty shield with Vinny right behind Pat to try and take him down. I don't mind this from Wildcard. I really hope that it works because it would be very exciting for Div.
This has been a game of counter strats. Like every round, like each team is looking at what the other team has been doing and saying, okay, can we do this instead? For Wildcard, it is in the details. And for Wildcard, that means not having them mute, which means it's so much easier to breach now for Direwolves. Of course, Direwolves brought the Thatcher last time, nullifying the mute. They don't have Thatcher this time, but it doesn't matter. They've got that Monty. There's no mute for them to worry about.
And here it comes, the pairing between Vinny and Pat. If ED gets a little bit too aggressive, if he gets a little bit too greedy on this push into Vinny, Pat's gonna come popping out the door, and there you go. That's your Monty shield taken down.
It would be such a gamble, but it could work out so well. The Yokais are harassing the Monty as well. Vinny's actually gone for a bit of an unusual, I don't see this stock shield set up as often. It's actually not reinforced the far back one and instead reinforced the one that gives him an angle into stock, shallow.
Oh, wow.
Now he's going to play the hallway.
Vinny absolutely backing himself into this gunfight here. Like you said, the setup is aggressive. He has to get some value off of this as they start to burn in. The Monty shield now putting pressure on him as well. He takes half of his HP away from ED. Vinny, he's just playing this precarious position so well.
ED's still feeling that pressure. Vinny goes for another impact and a bit more damage goes down, but Jackie Wu's Thinker Boost has done a lot to keep this Monty alive. How long until this Oryx may spring and take down this Monty?
Could be any moment now. Direwolves, they're running out of time,
Vinny!
But you don't even need the Oryx if you have the Yokais perfectly timed with Vinny's swing. No one covering ED's back. Unexpected, that kind of coordination. And Wildcard, now they're a man up. Match points, regulation winners on the cards.
Vinny has put the team on his back and stepped up, but now Wildcard will have to do it without Impact, feeling the pressure. Can't even find the first as Jackie Wu doubles down. OJ to step up when he is called upon. 30 seconds left in this round, potentially in this game. OJ still has a Yokai for plant denial. And Direwolves are gonna have to send it. That util has been sent out. The plant's been denied! And Wildcard are on the cusp of a 3-point win over the Direwolves. Cairo's holding the angle, he gets it, and it is over. Red are over. Wildcard, a 3-point victory against the undefeated Direwolves.
A huge win for Wildcard, throwing them up to the top of the standings and sending Direwolves down into that gruesome midfield where all the rest of the teams are going to be competing for that second place. Wildcard now coming away with so many points in these last 2 playdays really sets them up for success, and maybe this is their chance at the Berlin Major.
It has been a hell of a long time since Wildcard made it to an international event, but with the way that they have started Stage 2, they could certainly be on their way to Berlin. What a showing from this oh-so-renowned name in Rainbow Six within OS, within APAC, and to some degree on the world stage. Maybe they will return there if they can keep this up. We're only 2 play days in, Mandy, but with the format, it just, every play day carries so much weight.
I know. I was just going to say that as well. I feel like we really need to emphasize the gravity of that win for WILDCARD. That is a huge win, really. Especially WILDCARD with their story, returning to form, returning to the WILDCARD dynasty that we knew from 2 years ago. That's a long time ago. A long time for this downfall and the rise once again of this team. That is just such an incredible story to tell here, and I can't believe we get to witness it.
And I can't wait until we get to hear from Vinny in the interview. But first, of course, back to Rob and the desk.